up? Welcome into your Daily Buckeye Blitz for a Tuesday. Two for Tuesday. Actually, we're doing three for Tuesday. How's that sound? Even better, right? Better than the good old fashioned two first. All right. Today we're looking ahead. I'm looking ahead at the next three opponents. This Marshall game is another, beat down of epic proportions. So let's look at our Big Ten schedule coming up. Just our next three. We do have a bye week after the Oregon game, should be noted. A lot of people aren't aware of that. So we're going to look at where this Michigan State team ranks in relation to the rest of the country. Iowa after that, and then of course Oregon, those mother-loving Ducks. Um, Please hit like and subscribe. I hope you checked out yesterday's show. Did a lot of recruiting updates, talked offensive line, some new offers going out for 2025s. An Ohio guy to watch out of Dublin Kaufman. And we talked about Jakeem Stewart, the big five-star guy that's looking to reclassify for 2025. So a bunch of updates in there. Go back, check it out right here on this channel. So let's get into it here. I appreciate everybody being with me. I got to take a little side left turn here that way. Um, is it just me, or has the number of Ohio State shows and podcasts like tripled in the last year? You got former players, every former player, every former Buckeye has their own show now, own podcast, own video channel, whatever. So my point is, I appreciate you guys who have always been here. Even if you're new, I appreciate you checking out the show and giving us a shot, because it's not, the show is not like every other, um, especially the daily blitzes. A quick refresher for the new folks. The daily blitz is just 10 to 15 minutes every day, Buckeye info and some opinion mixed in, of course, because who would I be if I were not opinionated? Anyway, and then Friday afternoons at 4:30 Eastern, I go live with the Buckeye Rush Hour. We talk about the latest news, get you ready for the upcoming games on Saturday. And then Sunday night, me, Jeff, and Sean, my cohorts, we go live at 7:30 p.m. Eastern and talk about reaction from the Buckeyes game on Saturday, and then we get you ready for next week's game. So that's just a quick rundown. But I appreciate everybody who is with us and along for the ride. I know you can't check out every show every day, every week, but I appreciate the effort anyway. So thank you. All right, let's get into it here. We're talking a look ahead, little look ahead on the next three opponents. These are Big Ten opponents, so these are actual real teams. Say what you want about Sparty. They're a real team. They're in the Big Ten. They were good at one time. But so like Sparty, for example, here, they're 3-0, undefeated. You can't be upset about that. They've taken care of business, beat Florida Atlantic in a close one, 16-10, beat Maryland in another close one, 27-24, and then they just played Prairie View A&M, beat them 40-0. I don't know what school that is. I've never heard of it. Anyways, so they've played one real opponent. All right, that's good. We'll start off with the Sparty offense here. I'm just going to go through some categories. I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you, so brace yourselves. If you need to play me at half speed, or I could talk slower, I could really talk slow. Team points per game. No, don't do that. Anyway, the show will be 40 minutes long. All right. Uh, Points per game scored by the Michigan State offense. They're 83rd in the country. All right. Um, that doesn't bode well when you've only played Maryland. That's your only real opponent. FIU and whoever, FAU, none of them matter. Anyway, so 83rd in the country. They're just scoring over 3 touchdowns on average. Yards per play, they're 49th in the country. They're at 5.9. Yards per game, they're 55th in the country. So, middle of the road. They're putting up almost 400 yards. Passing and rushing, they're both kind of in the same ballpark. 51st passing, 59th rushing. So nothing real outstanding there. They're just kind of middling, and that's what I expect out of their season. I don't expect them to do much better than a 7-5, something like that. But anyway, Michigan State defense, Sparty defense, Points per game allowed, there's 36 in the country. A little surprising there, but again, you played a couple softies and Maryland without a Talia. So 36 in the country, 17 points a game they're allowing. Yards per play, 17th in the country, allowing only 4 yards a play. That's respectable. Yards per game, 29th in the country, almost 300 yards allowed. Passing yards, 49th, rushing yards, 37th. So a little better against the run there for Sparty. So, uh, again, how do you measure them against their opponents? Maryland never has a great defense. Has used to have a decent offense. Loxley's an offensive kind of guy, so uh, his team is offensive to me personally. But anyway, so that's the Sparty folks. And so let's look at Iowa here real quick. Uh, Points per game, 52nd in the country. They're scoring 28.5 on average. Now they have had a real. Well, they played one real team and they lost. They lost to Iowa State in the Cyhawk Trophy game, 20-19 in a barn burner. No pun intended. Don't get offended, Iowa fans. Um, barn burner can take down some stuff real quick. Take down your whole freaking cornfield. Anyway, so they've also played, who was that? Illinois State and Troy. They beat Illinois State 40 to nothing. Troy 38-21. So they allowed 21 points to Troy. That's kind of surprising there. So yards per play, 63rd in the country. They allow 5.5 yards per play. Yards per game, 61st. They allow 382.5 per game. Most of that's through the air. Surprising. They used to have a much better air. I'm sorry. This is their offense. Back up. Rewind. They're scoring 28.5 per game, 52nd in the country, 63rd in yards per play, 61st in yards per game. They're putting up 382.5 on offense. Passing, this makes a lot more sense now. 119th. They're throwing for 138.5 yards per game. Rushing 11th. So obviously the strength is the running game. Now, talk about the Iowa defense. You dumbass. Points per game, they allow 20.5 points per game on defense, 54th in the country. Yards per play, 63rd. They allow 5.3. Yards per game, 51st, 307 per game. But a little surprising that their passing yards per game is 87th in the country. They're allowing over 250 yards per game passing. Cooper DeJean is not walking through that door, apparently. Rushing yards per game, though, they're 7th in the country. They only allow 56.5 rushing yards per game. Again, consider the opponents. I know. But they did play one real team anyway. So, all right, let's look at Oregon here. The Oregon Dicks, they are 3-0, of course. Beat Idaho 24-14. Boise State 37-34. That one was a little closer than I expected it to be. They're not good against the state of Idaho. And then Oregon State, the Civil War. I expected more out of Oregon State, but it looks like the Ducks have kind of finally found their stride on offense. So 10th in the country on offense in points per game, 43 points a game. Some soft opponents, I would say, easily. 10th in the country at yards per play, 7.6. Yards per game, they're 28. 450 yards per game they're putting up. Passing yards per game, 33rd. A lot of that was helped out last week. 275 passing. 44th in the country, 175 per game running the ball. So obviously their strong suit is the little dink and dunk, RPO style. Dylan Gabriel, drop back, get the ball out of your hands quickly for 5 yards, and then let the receivers do the rest, right? So that's the same thing they did with Bo Nix last year. So Oregon's defense, though, 67th in the country, allowing 24 points a game, again, against some I would call subpar opponents personally. Yards per play, 47th, They're giving up 4.7 yards per play. Yards per game, 55th in the country, 339 yards per game. And then passing, they're 29th in the country. So strong against the pass. That secondary, they have some transfers in there. They brought in a corner from Washington. He was a starter last year. So they're only allowing 163 through the air. Again, consider the opponents. I don't think they faced a high level quarterback yet or a mid level, maybe an economy level. But running the ball here, this is the weak spot of this Oregon defense. 94th. They got worked over pretty good on the ground by both Boise State and a little bit Oregon State in that first half. I expected Oregon State to continue in the second half, but it didn't happen. So, anyway, rushing, they're 94th in the country. They're allowing 176 per game on the ground. That seems like a problem. And again, say what you want about this Oregon Duck team, and a lot has been said. Uh, Dylan Gabriel is not a Heisman level quarterback. He's no longer the favorite. Um, and they're still soft in the trenches on offense and defense. I know they had a couple injuries on the O line. Those guys should be coming back, though. We'll see what they have in, once they're back to full strength. But again, they're still a Pac-12 team, in my opinion, the way I see it. Soft in the trenches, a lot of athletes around the outside, and a quarterback that's in a system that allows him to be very efficient, make few mistakes. Just you have to be a good decision maker and a little slippery. He had what, like a 60-yard scamper last week. Dylan Gabriel did. So still a Pac-12 team in my opinion. No different. I don't care where Dan Lanning coached. It's still light in the trenches, and you know athletes, just athletes like Chip Kelly used to have out there sprinkled around. So just my opinion, but let me know what you guys think. Is there any aspect of these three games, offense or defense, for these teams that you're concerned about? Iowa's defense, maybe, against the run, seventh in the country. Oregon's offense, you concerned about that? So let me know. Hit me in the comments. That's all I got for you today. Talk to you tomorrow. Go Bucks.